It's a sad time, not just in college sports, but in all competitive sports in America. When the conference formerly known as the Pac-10 added Utah and Colorado in 2011, no one could imagine that the newly minted Pac-12 would cease to exist just over 10 years later. And while the Pac-12 still exists as a legal entity and may continue to do so for a while, for all intents and purposes, the conference is dead. Consider the following. On June 30th, 2022, USC and UCLA announced their intentions to leave the conference and join the Midwest-based Big Ten. This was a massive blow to the conference, as they would be losing the two teams inside the conference's largest television market, and the nation's second largest television market overall. But there was still hope in the presence of the other 10 schools. This hope persisted for all of 13 months before the dominoes came crashing down. July 27, 2023, Colorado leaves the conference, returning to the Big 12. Bad news, but not quite the death knell. No, that came 8 days later. Washington and Oregon joining UCLA and USC in the Big Ten. Arizona, Arizona State, and Utah joining Colorado in the Big 12. And then there were four. No offense to Washington State, Oregon State, Cal Berkeley, and Stanford, but these four a conference does not make. And there are no teams they can add, not San Diego State, not Boise State, not Nevada. Nobody that can make this conference whole. It's over. The Pac-12 was known as the Conference of Champions, but unless they win something in the interim before these changes become official, they've hung their final championship banner. The backdrop of conference realignment that has pervaded college sports during the 21st century has certainly brought the hammer down on the Pac-12, but nothing has hurt it more than its own geography. It should be clear to at least the average sports fan that there is an East Coast bias in the sports media. This isn't some kind of pernicious bias, though. The 2020 census shows us that 23.7%, less than 1/4 of the U.S. population is in the West, with right around half of that in California alone. Then there's the time difference. A game in Corvallis, Oregon that begins at 7:30 local time will end at around 1:30 in the morning on the East Coast. That not only precludes the kind of coverage a game on that coast would get, it also makes for far fewer eyes on the game. Whether we should have seen this coming or that it was inevitable is irrelevant. There should be no reveling in any of this. The Pac-12 conference, under all its previous iterations, has been an indispensable part of the college sports landscape for all our lives. It just won't seem right watching college sports without the Pac-12, or at the very least, a heavily watered down version of it. But time works in funny ways. Interconnected waves of action flung into the universe and wrapping their way back around us into a confluence of constant change. Time has claimed the Pac-12 conference for itself, and our lived, bereft world will feel its loss. May the memories of the Pac-12 live on as our united fandom gathers in stadiums and gymnasiums across this land for whatever may come next. Thank you for watching.